Have you ever thought about how many people in the world would risk their lives every day just by driving on the road? What seems like a mundane act, getting behind the wheel, can turn into a tragedy. Forget about wide highways and regulated pedestrian crossings. The roads in this collection are places where rocks hang over narrow strips, cliffs peer into windows, and the road itself is more of a challenge than a regular way home. You'll witness dramatic crashes with explosions in the middle of highways, dangerous police chases, humorous moments that happen to drivers, extreme stunts straight out of video games, and even the transportation of a 400-ton house. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Are you ready? Then let's go! Let's start with the road to Fairy Meadows, which ranks second among the deadliest roads in the world on interactive maps. The road to Fairy Meadows is an impressive and dangerous high-altitude route located in the Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan. Hidden in the Fairy Meadows National Park, the road is entirely dirt, filled with rocks and boulders due to constant landslides and avalanches. Its total length is 9.94 miles. The road is unattended with no barriers to protect you. The further you go, the narrower it becomes. Sounds more like a plot of a nightmare. But this is the reality, where, in the end, you have to cover the last stretch on foot or by bike over rocky cliffs at 8,000 feet high, amidst mountain views and valleys. Interestingly, the dirt road has not undergone any repair since it was built by the ethnic residents of the Nanga Parbat Mountains hundreds of years ago. Would you dare travel to a place where one slight mistake can lead to catastrophic results? This accident occurred on the Indonesia's road. A truck overturned, blocking the passage. As a result, a significant traffic jam consisted of dozens of motorcycles and cars formed at the scene. They were waiting for the road to be cleared and the passage to reopen. Some were observing the situation. Many locals came to see the accident. Unfortunately, the fate of the driver is unknown. We hope he only suffered a few bruises and wasn't seriously injured. The same can't be said, though, about the truck. The windows in the cab were shattered, possibly by the driver himself using a metal pipe lying nearby to escape. The metal container fell off the platform and was deformed. There were also many people on the other side of the road. The police arrived at the scene to investigate the circumstances of the accident and manage the traffic. Since the truck almost completely blocked the road, some motorcyclists tried to squeeze through the narrow passage. A significant traffic jam persisted until specialized equipment could remove the obstacle. Located in Wuxi County in southwest China, Lanying Cliff Road is beautiful but simultaneously one of the most dangerous roads in the world. This road is not for the faint-hearted. Steep turns, narrow passages, lack of protection, and dizzying heights characterize this extremely narrow 1.2-kilometer road carved into the side of a cliff. The drop might be over 1,000 meters, and adding clouds and frequent fogs makes it even more intimidating. Despite all the risks, it serves as the only transportation route connecting the village of Lanying to the outside world. Reportedly, the road was manually carved by villagers, taking more than 15 years. Resembling a hanging rocky wall, daring drivers traverse it every day, risking their lives with each sharp turn, only protected by a small stone fence along the entire route. In other words, it's more than an unusual path to the treasure called Lanying Grand Canyon. If you're thinking of driving on off-roads and challenging mountain roads, it's better not to do it in a regular car. The Manali Spiti Highway in India runs through mountain terrains. In bad weather, when the roads get washed out, it becomes a real problem for ordinary vehicles. This car is struggling to navigate the rocky path, and it even lost a tire. The driver is trying to accelerate, but with little success. Just look at how dirty the car is. The driver probably regrets having chosen this route. Local drivers sometimes manually fill the largest potholes with stones from the roadside so that cars can pass. Traffic jams are a real test of patience for many drivers. On some roads in big cities and metropolises, you can spend a considerable amount of time during rush hour. This is accompanied by constant noise, honking, and exhaust fumes. Just look at this traffic jam. It stretches for several kilometers. There are thousands of cars, and all lanes are occupied. After experiencing such a traffic jam, driving on a completely empty road becomes a true pleasure. At night, when there are no cars around and only the streetlights illuminate the way, you can really feel the vibe. You can turn on your favorite music and enjoy the tranquility. JSR Rondu Skardu Road is not just a 167-kilometer road. It's a challenge thrown at nature, a test of endurance, a journey that stays in memory forever. Located in the picturesque Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan, this route leads through some of the world's most beautiful mountain landscapes, but also harbors danger. The road is often blocked by landslides and avalanches, making the passage risky and requiring careful preparation, endurance, experience, and knowledge of mountain conditions. Landslides are a side effect of of the weather conditions and rapid temperature changes normal to the mountain terrain. Earthquakes, which occur several times a year in this area, also contribute to roadblocks. In the video, you can see people abandoning their vehicles, taking all their belongings, and walking because the road is blocked by rocks. Considering the number of people in the video, it's clear that this route is quite popular among locals, and blockages happen regularly. There's no other way for them to get home or to work. They have to throw their bags on their backs and climb over these hurdles, trying to overcome the route. The path may not be just 1 kilometer, and arranging transportation can take a week. It's already a part of their everyday life, with no alternative. Travelers, for whom crossing the JSR Rondu-Skardu Road is less commonplace, describe their emotions as a mixture of fear, excitement, and pride in overcoming this challenging route. This accident looks like a scene from an action movie on a high-octane thriller. It was captured by a surveillance camera on one of the highways. The driver of a fuel tanker lost control of the vehicle. The truck crashed through the guardrail and veered into oncoming traffic, and at that moment the tanker overturned and exploded. It continued to slide for dozens of meters due to its high speed, leaving a trail of flames behind. Several cars were caught in the path of the burning truck before it finally came to a stop. A massive fire broke out and the truck blocked the road. This is a horrific car crash in which many people were injured. The driver of this SUV seems capable of driving anywhere. He's descending an obstacle over 2 meters high. It's unclear whether this is an obstacle in his path or if he's participating in a competition, tackling a tough course, but it looks truly impressive. He carefully descends and the vehicle nearly goes into a vertical position. The front end dips into a puddle. It might seem like the vehicle is about to flip over, but everything ends well. After heavy rain in California, a landslide occurred on one of the roads. This driver captured the moment when a portion of the road collapsed. A large section of asphalt and tons of soil slid down the slope. It's fortunate that drivers noticed the crack in the road and alerted the emergency services. Rescuers and the police blocked the road and ensured that no one was harmed. In this video, a man encounters none other than Captain America on a motorcycle. He's probably on his way to another battle with Red Skull or to help the Avengers. Other drivers were thrilled. It's not every day, after all, that you see something like this on the road. When the man on the motorcycle noticed he was being filmed, he even saluted the passing driver. Shimshal, Pakistan, a terrifying mountain road that merely allows speeds over 10 kilometers an hour, located in Pakistan, is truly one of the most breathtaking and dangerous balcony roads in the world. It leads to the Shimshal Valley, situated at an altitude of about 3,100 meters above sea level and has a length of 35 miles. On one side are majestic mountain peaks covered in glaciers, on the other, a deep gorge that takes your breath away. That's its route. Even now, the road is covered with snow most of the year, often leading to closures during this time. If you dare to cross it, be aware that half of your journey will take place on an artificial ledge, hundreds of feet above the river under an incredible incline, almost the vertical side of the canyon. This is not to mention the road itself will be gravel and so narrow that usually only one car can fit, leaving little space on both sides. And the frightening wooden bridges over the canyon gap will surely not let you forget your fear, if it's possible at all. After all this, it's not so surprising that, in the past, instead of prison, the Hunza authorities sent people who committed crimes to Shimshal as punishment. Would you risk crossing the Shimshal Road? Write about it in the comments section below. If you still decide on this journey, my friendly advice, don't forget to bring a parachute and inform your insurance company. Tianmen Mountain Road. Located in the picturesque Tianmen National Park in northwest China, this road is considered one of the most dangerous roads in the world. Are you accustomed to comfortable journeys on smooth paved roads? But do you have a crave thrilling sensations and a real challenge? Then this road is what you need. Now on the screen, you have the opportunity to see 99 hellish turns from a bird's eye view. Winding alongside the slopes of the mountains, they stretch on for 7 miles, leading to the mountaintop, where the famous Tianmen Cave, also known as the Gateway to Heaven, is located. Even without the zoom of a drone camera, you can notice the steep slopes along which vehicles, maneuvering turn after turn, try not to fall amidst this stunning landscape and regular fog. Unlike previous places in terms of equipment, let it not deceive you. Incredibly narrow and winding with extremely narrow tunnels, it spirals steeply upward from 200 meters to 1,300 meters above sea level. Despite all this, surprisingly, local drivers drive very fast, so protective concrete blocks have been placed along the entire route and your prayers will separate you from a fall, which, by the way, will be needed in the next place. This chase took place in Queens. A New York Police Department car was driving alongside a motorcyclist, signaling him to pull over to the side of the road. At one point, the officer tried to get ahead of the motorcyclist to block his path. However, the violator maneuvered around the police car. At one point, they even tried to nudge the motorcycle, but they didn't succeed. Car isn't as maneuverable as a motorcycle after all. At one moment, the motorcyclist simply turned onto a side road and escaped the pursuit. The police decided not to continue the chase. It's likely that the offense wasn't serious enough to warrant a large-scale pursuit and endanger others, so they moved on. What do you think? Did the police make the right decision? Share your thoughts in the comments below. A driver on the roadside was lucky enough to witness a police chase firsthand. The man filming it started shouting with excitement. At some point, it seemed like he was louder than the sirens. A funny incident on the road. A quarrel broke out between drivers, and they decided to stop and settle in with their fists. But take note of how a short, skinny man steps out of a large pickup truck, while a muscular man steps out of a small red car in front. The latter didn't waste any time. He lifted his opponent and threw him into the trunk. Never underestimate people in small cars. Imagine a picturesque mountain valley in Azad Kashmir. Probably it's difficult to do so, especially if you've never been there, right? Let me help you with that. Dense forests, majestic mountains, a roaring river. All of this creates an incredible landscape. But amidst this beauty lies danger. The road of Azad Kashmir. This challenging, mostly dirt road winds through the mountains, and its surface is rocky, mostly sharp and threatening, or potholed. Dreaming of a smooth surface is not an option here. One wrong move results in a punctured tire. Besides, don't forget that the left side of the road is a steep slope, and the right, a turbulent river. If such travel difficulties await you in the warm seasons, then a logical question would be, what about when the temperature drops below freezing? You can find out only if you decide to try your luck by going there. Zovila Pass, one of the world's most dangerous passes, located in the Himalayas. It is situated at an altitude of over 3,500 meters above sea level. Despite its steep turns and poor road conditions, hundreds of trucks and cars use it daily. The mountain road spans for 193 kilometers, with some stretches so narrow that two vehicles cannot pass each other. Even for a motorcyclist, overtaking an oncoming vehicle could be challenging. The majority of the road is unpaved, but there are sections paved with cobblestone or asphalt. Traveling may not be comfortable, but the view of snow-capped mountains makes it all the worthwhile. This road is popular among Indian drivers, and columns of vehicles can often be seen slowly making their way through the rocks. Connecting the cities of Srinagar and Kargil in northern India, it serves both cargo trucks and passenger buses. The real challenge is passing oncoming vehicles, often requiring trucks to reverse to wider areas. If possible, vehicles move close to the edge, allowing convoys of oncoming trucks to pass. On wider and relatively safer sections, vehicles can speed up. In the winter, when snowfall occurs, the road is closed, adding the risk of avalanches to icy conditions. Despite being rightfully considered one of the most dangerous roads globally, local drivers use it as the shortest route. Near Norwalk this May, a tanker truck carrying fuel was involved in an accident on the highway, resulting in a massive fire. A large pillar of fire and smoke could be seen from many kilometers away. Several fire brigades arrived at the scene. The fuel had spread over a large area, even spilling onto the opposite lane. The fire ignited in mere seconds, and the pillar of fire continued to grow. Since some fuel might still be in the container, there's a risk of an explosion, so firefighters are working very cautiously. Traffic was completely paralyzed, causing a significant traffic jam. Many drivers got out of their cars to take a closer look at the fire. A dangerous accident occurred in Balochistan, where a bus had its roof blown off and its body severely damaged. Eyewitnesses captured it as it turned. There was only the driver and another person inside. All the windows were shattered and the body was heavily dented, with much of the paint scraped off. It's hard to believe it could still be running after that. Unfortunately, the cause of the incident is unclear from the video. The bus may have collided with a large obstacle or been caught in a rock slide or a rain of boulders. The driver and passengers of another bus moving in the opposite direction were stunned and shocked by what they had seen. Some even leaned out of the door to get a better look. Despite the accident though, the bus driver remains optimistic, even smiling at other drivers. How is it even possible for the bus to keep going when half the driver's cab is missing? In the Parsan Valley of Pakistan, there is a very dangerous road through rocky mountains. It runs along a steep cliff, with only a few centimeters separating vehicles from the edge in some places. This road is a nightmare for tourists as it's carved into the cliffs. One mistake could cost a driver and passenger their lives. But this doesn't deter local drivers who regularly pass through. Watching the video, it seems like the road could crumble at any moment, sending the vehicle tumbling down. In some sections, only one car can pass, so sometimes vehicles have to reverse for over a kilometer to let others pass. These guys are definitely inventive. Just look at how they've customized this car. Or rather, half of it. Instead of normal rear wheels, they've attached small shopping cart wheels. And check out those super comfy seats inside. A flip chair and some sacks. Imagine a narrow, winding road through the mountains. Perilous passes where one wrong step can be fatal. That's Karnali Highway, a 250-kilometer road connecting Nebelajung to Surkhet in Nepal. Words about it being the last thing you might see in your life are not just empty statements. This rocky path is laid on the surface amidst rivers and waterfalls. The road itself is a very narrow strip of land bordering the cliff. Most of the time, this route is submerged. Therefore, on days when the river overflows, it doesn't deter local buses, which, overcoming these obstacles, essentially travel on water ramps. Even on motorcycles, the road is tight, let alone cars. And due to rains, landslides, and rockfalls frequently occur. Almost the entire year, entry for vehicles on this route is prohibited, but that was never stopped the locals. Transportation is always possible on bicycles or motorcycles. In the dry season, public buses operate on the route, but encounters with oncoming traffic are impossible in some places. There is no alternative route for the residents of this area. Hence, the death toll on this road is not surprisingly high, with 50 fatalities annually, not counting those injured and maimed by this route, although it is not a competitor for the next place. A guy nearly lost his life. A truck overturned ahead and he had just seconds to swerve off the road at high speed, barely grazing the semi. Thanks to his quick reflexes, he survived. This police chase happened on one of the roads in Poland. The police were pursuing a suspicious vehicle that had fled during a routine traffic check. The criminal skillfully evaded capture, endangering other road users. He drove through green areas, jumped from one road to another, and managed to escape each time the police tried to stop him. Initially, he was pursued by a single police van and another car with flashing lights. Later, another police van joined the chase. The criminal's car was eventually trapped, surrounded by the police and another van that blocked the crossing. The officers thought they had him and began exiting their vehicles to make the arrest. But just as they were about to, a white van moved and unblocked the road. The fugitive managed to slip away, almost escaping justice. The police quickly returned to their vehicles and resumed the pursuit. The chase continued along a road by the forest until the criminal veered onto the shoulder to escape on foot. More prepared officers chased him down and caught him a few dozen meters from his car. It turned out the 41-year-old fugitive had been on the police's radar before. This time he was driving a stolen car from Germany and was banned from driving. He had previous convictions for drug offenses and is now behind bars. Do you want to face danger and feel the adrenaline rush through your veins? Then North Yungas Road in Bolivia is waiting for you. Locals call this route the Death Road, or Road of Fate. Many would agree that it is one of the most dangerous and deadly roads globally. At its highest point, the road is at an altitude of 3,600 meters and at the lowest, 330 meters. Steep ascents of the dirt road periodically collapsing and the absence of guardrails do not stop people traveling on it, not only on bicycles, but also in cars and even buses. This became a fatal mistake captured on camera on May 20th, 2012. What seemed like a routine passage of a local bus along a narrow section turns tragic. It slowly and cautiously passes the slope, but fate had other plans. In a few seconds, the rear part of the transport slips, dragging it and flipping it into the abyss before pulling it over. Long sounds of falling and impacts along with the screams of people accompany the end of this video clip. After such an event, it's not surprising that from the bottom of the canyon, you can easily see the consequences of similar situations. And now add to all this fog, which periodically appears on the road, landslides during rain, and even picturesque waterfalls, ironically located directly above the route. Every year, 100 to 200 people die here, and crosses marking the scenes of fatal events are placed on different parts of the road. Adventurers from around the world come here to test their nerves and get a huge dose of adrenaline. Still, not everyone successfully conquers these terrifying 70 kilometers of slippery road. Would you risk traveling the route? Write about it in the comments below. Passing through the Halstafjord and Averroy Islands, one of the most beautiful routes called the Atlantic Ocean Road is laid out. It traverses the water of the Atlantic Ocean, connecting various 8 islands with bridges of various sizes. The length of the road is almost 5 miles, and its twists resemble, in a way, American roller coasters with their design. This breathtaking monument is an excellent example of how the wonders of nature and human creation can come together and transform into a single entity. During the journey, it will enchant you with its curves and provides a continuous panoramic viewpoint of overlooking marvelous islands, mountains, and water expanses highlighted by lush green coastal landscapes. But behind all this, one must not forget about the danger. The variability of weather conditions in Norway is well known, not to mention the unpredictable nature of the ocean. You wouldn't want to be caught in a storm while on any of these bridges. Waves with incredible force crash over the entire route, splashing onto passing vehicles, obstructing the forward view. Not to mention the dangerous excess of water on the road, after which controlling the vehicle becomes challenging, leading to the possibility of ending up in the deep ocean or, more simply, in an accident. This wild duck decided not just to race, but to do it at a full speed alongside the trucks. Look at how it's zooming over the road. It definitely knows how to grab attention and impress with its speed. This Jeep is clearly returning from anything but the best trip of its life. The windshield is shattered, the doors won't close, and the body is falling apart before your eyes. But even with such damage, it's still tackling rough terrain and shallow water. No wonder these vehicles are chosen for extreme adventures. SUVs boldly cross a suspension bridge over a raging river, but even just looking at this bridge makes your heart race. I don't know about you, but I'd think twice before getting into a car at that moment. The bridge looks unreliable. It sways under the weight of the vehicle, some planks are in poor condition, and some are nearly missing. But this doesn't stop the group of tourists who've decided to test their luck. Inside the SUV, you can see people filming this dangerous moment on their phones. The vehicle slowly starts onto the bridge, which isn't even attached to the cliff but just hangs by cables. The SUV cautiously moves forward, supporting every move, while another vehicle prepares to face the challenge. On the other side, a group that has already crossed a bridge awaits them. It's a real adventure for the brave, and fortunately, it ends well. This truck looks like a little bird trying to take off. The wind catches two poorly secured lids from trash containers, making them look like tiny wings. It's a funny sight. The main thing is that they don't fly off and damage other vehicles. In the heart of the Peruvian Andes lies the road in Cotahuasi Canyon. This impressive route to one of the deepest canyons in the world, 11,004 feet, is certainly not for those with a fear of heights. The dangerous road through the canyon is filled with many challenges, such as steep turns, cliffs, and rock slides. Drivers and passengers have to make 4 stops every 200 meters to check the route, and in some cases, use tools to clear the aftermath of rock slides or rain. The video shows men working diligently with shovels. Active physical exertion for locals and tourists is a unique feature of this road among others. It's essential to mention the sad statistics of accidents on this road. According to local eyewitnesses, the annual accident rate exceeds 50. In conclusion, you definitely need to remember that there are only 2 types of people on this dangerous road: those who are driving it for the first time, and those who are driving it again because they can't believe they survived the first time. And if you do survive it, welcome to the next one. Killer Road. Kishtwar is rightly called the most dangerous road in the world. This road in the wilderness has conquered many daredevils. The entire route is a horrific state and requires strong nerves to overcome it. Along with the terrifyingly high altitude trail, the total length of the road is 114 kilometers. This route looks very dangerous and narrow, even for motorcyclists who often challenge themselves to conquer this route, not to mention cars and buses. As for the road itself, it is made of gravel, rocks, and sand. And it's worth mentioning the rocky protrusion that hangs down, ultimately obstructing the view of oncoming traffic and creating numerous blind spots. Another difficulty of this route is the low temperature, which can persist until summer, making it possible to encounter snow blockages. However, this doesn't deter the guys in this video. In summer, everything begins to melt, causing other problems, flooding and washing out roads, resulting in heavy machinery trying to prevent landslides, leading to encounters on narrow road sections. Dozens of steep ascents, descents, and the constant feeling of severe oxygen deficiency, which won't leave you for a minute, add to the complexity. So don't forget, just one mistake and all of this can turn into a catastrophic event for you. A truck was delivering a wind turbine blade, but something went wrong. The vehicle didn't make it across a railway crossing in time. A train struck part of the propeller, breaking it. The truck overturned from the impact. Thankfully, there were no casualties, but the damage was significant. In this extreme sport, drivers in off-road vehicles tackle extraordinary obstacles and climb steep hills. However, one driver couldn't handle it. He nearly made it to the top, but the vehicle started rolling back down, flipping several times before ending up at the base of the hill. Onlookers rushed to help him and pull him out of the car. The driver of this bus clearly got confused and ended up driving on the wrong side of the road on a bridge. Instead of continuing straight, he tried to turn around, but it wasn't easy for a bus of that size. It took him several minutes. While he was making the turn, a traffic jam of dozens of cars started to form. Only motorcyclists could get through. Finally, the driver pulled over to the side of the road, probably to figure out what to do next. This truck was driving with its trailer raised and hit a bridge. It was moving at high speed, so the impact was tremendous. The cargo section was ripped off, and the truck continued to move for several dozen meters. The metal support remained intact, but the truck was destroyed. It's unclear why the driver didn't lower the trailer. Maybe he just didn't notice after unloading, or he intended to drive that way but misjudged the height of the obstacle. Unfortunately, none of the other drivers warned him about the raised ramp or stopped the truck. A creative grill could be made from a cool supercar. Someone decided to grill chicken using the flames shooting out of the exhaust. Admittedly, it looks impressive, but it's unlikely he'll manage to cook the chicken that way. Surveillance cameras captured an accident at a roundabout. A car speeding into it flew into the air like a rocket. The car jumped several meters, disintegrating in midair and damaged several other parked cars on the side of the road. A truck driver was calmly driving down the highway. Nothing hinted at danger, but suddenly a small car flew out right in front of the truck. It likely tried to overtake, but crashed into the truck during the maneuver. In a split second, the car started flipping and rolling onto the shoulder. The truck driver reacted instantly, slamming on the brakes, but the truck continued to move by inertia. The small car ended up in a vertical position until it finally stopped on the side of the road. Pay attention to the truck driver's emotions captured by the dashcam. Shock turned to surprise at the situation as he threw up his hands, trying to comprehend what just happened. Kinwar Road is a picturesque route that hangs from cliffs over what seems like a bottomless gorge, crossing the Baspa River in India. A beautiful place for travelers, but is it worth the journey you need to undertake? To connect Kinwar with the rest of the country, the Kinwar Road was constructed, carved into solid rock by cutting through hills in a way that sometimes these protrusions become part of the landscape. Soon after starting your journey on what seems like a safe asphalt road, you unknowingly enter a rocky trap. The road becomes narrower, sharp turns direct your gaze to the wild nature. But what lies ahead? Right, an endless stream of landslides, streams, waterfalls, and boulders, along with precarious suspension bridges, because why not? The destruction of one of these bridges was captured on camera by a local resident. In the video, you can see how just a few rocks hitting the mountain surface created a cascade of stones that easily destroyed the bridge in its path. It's terrifying to imagine what would happen if a person were in its place. Now, a bit of teleportation from warm countries to colder ones. Dalton Highway, also known as Route 11, is one of the most dangerous roads in Alaska. These 666 miles are so desolate that they've been dubbed the loneliest road in America. Numerous road signs and warnings along the way serve as grim reminders of the real danger people have faced traveling so far north. Scenes of burnt cars from accidents are not rare and starkly stand out against the snowy landscapes. The notorious bumps resembling craters seem almost harmless compared to the steep terrain with sharp inclines, slippery road surfaces, and the presence of bears and moose that can suddenly appear in your path. Add to this the minimal visibility due to frequent snowfalls. All of this is complemented by winter temperatures dropping to -45 degrees Celsius. The combination of harsh weather, strong winds, and polar conditions make traveling this road beyond risky from July to August at best. And don't forget, if you think everything is behind you and you survived an accident, there's no chance of a quick rescue due to the lack of mobile network. Your only salvation is waiting for daily helicopter patrols searching for wreckage and stranded travelers. Did you dream of having a small car to ride around in as a child? This man clearly fulfilled the dream of many boys. Just look at this tiny car. But despite its size, it's zipping down the road at a decent speed, and how did a full-grown man ever fit in there? This man came up with a unique way to entertain himself. He climbed into a shopping cart from the supermarket and grabbed onto the rear bumper of a fuel tanker. Now he's speeding along at a breakneck pace, and it's pouring rain. Never try this, as it's extremely dangerous. If the cart's wheels break or if the man loses his grip, a disaster could happen. At best, this might end in some injuries. These guys lost a wheel, but it's no problem for them. They creatively used a rolling platform and placed their car on it. Surprisingly, the setup works perfectly. They'll definitely make it to the nearest service station. They're even having fun and waving at other drivers who are filming this engineering solution. A Tesla is driving down a flooded road. Water is pouring out from every crevice and the trunk, almost as if the car is spitting it out. I don't think Tesla has this feature. What do you think? Write your thoughts down in the comments. Imagine the scenic landscape of Saskatchewan, Canada. Probably beautiful, right? But behind this beauty lies another side. A network of roads that rightfully can be called one of the most dangerous in the world. In recent years, Flooded Highway in Saskatchewan has earned this title due to, well, endless floods. Perhaps it will surprise you, but for most locals, starting their journey on a regular asphalt road during the rainy season and magically continuing it amid puddles and water engulfing them is a daily occurrence. And the splashes on the windshield that cleverly limit visibility will increasingly diminish your chances of avoiding an accident in these conditions. Particularly dangerous, not forgetting that all this time, rivers surround you from both sides. Located in the southwestern Hubei province of the People's Republic of China, the floating bridge in Shizuguan is one of the most spectacular bridges in the world. The wooden plank bridge runs in the middle of the river at water level. I understand it's hard to believe this isn't clickbait for your attention, so let me convince you of its authenticity. The floating bridge was designed as an environmentally friendly structure made of natural materials, seamlessly blending into the surrounding environment. This remarkable engineering feat challenges nature itself, allowing people to cross water spaces effortlessly. With a length of 1,640 feet and a width of 4.5 meters, it is built above the river. The water depth beneath it is 60 meters, so it's better to refrain from speeding, especially since there are speed restrictions on this route to prevent the creation of unnecessary waves, dangerous for your life. Despite all this beauty, accidents are not uncommon for this place. Would you risk driving on such a bridge? After heavy rains, a landslide occurred on one of the hills. Tons of soil began sliding down. By coincidence, a train was passing by the slope at that moment. Maybe the noise and vibrations triggered the landslide. Tons of soil hit the train cars with great force, causing the train to derail. Several containers being transported on platforms were crushed and destroyed. As you can see, they turned out to be empty. Fortunately, no one was injured. A dash cam captured an unusual event on the road. Notice the white car crossing the double solid line. Something happened, and there was a powerful explosion underneath it. The blast was so strong that the car was lifted several meters into the air. It flipped over and landed a few meters away. Fortunately, no other cars were damaged. This is why it's important to keep your car in good technical condition. Dragobrat is a ski resort located in the Zakraprathy region of Ukraine. It doesn't enjoy much popularity due to its horrendous road. The road leading to the top of Dragobrat has been in a state of disrepair for over 20 years, becoming almost impassable in the winter. Getting there by a regular car is unlikely unless you want to roll down a hill. Locals use special vehicles equipped with wheel chains for better traction to climb to the resort, and for a fee, they are happy to give you a lift. This transport can easily overcome the snowdrifts formed by avalanches higher up in the mountains, but there are cases where even they struggle with the weather conditions on the road. In a video, a driver and passenger narrowly avoid sliding into a river that runs alongside the road. Such incidents are not uncommon. Waiting for another vehicle to pull them out is not unusual, with everyone having their own winch or towing cable for such situations. Interestingly, despite knowing the danger of this road, many crossover drivers still dare to drive to the ski resorts in their own cars. This results in many videos on the internet where it doesn't end well. Cars lose traction with the road and simply slide down. Sometimes, drivers have to leave their vehicles and wait for better weather to tackle the route. Would you risk navigating this route? And if so, in what type of car? Longtan River Bridge is impressive in its scale, being just one of several remarkable structures on the last 300-mile stretch of the G50 Expressway. It connects Shanghai on the Pacific coast and simultaneously ranks as one of the top 10 largest concrete bridges in the world. With a height of 178 meters and 7 spans, the main one being 200 meters long, this structure is a true giant. If, after hearing its parameters, you still have questions about why it is dangerous, then congratulations, you lack a self-preservation instinct. Besides all this, most of the time, the viaduct is surrounded by clouds, making it difficult to see anything. And lest you forget about the constant sense of fear, just remember that one wrong turn of yours or a neighboring truck and you're flying. And if it comforts you at the moment, the view of endless expanses will be truly breathtaking. A taxi driver caused a minor accident on the road, damaging the rear bumper of the car in front of him. Witnesses noticed that he was intoxicated. The taxi driver decided to flee the scene of the accident, but it would have been better if he hadn't. Due to his carelessness, he got into a more serious accident. Another car crashed into him, causing severe damage. You could say this is instant karma, but because of this driver's actions, another driver and their car were also harmed. This guy is clearly a fan of video games. He decided to recreate a very dangerous stunt and drive under a truck trailer. All this happened while the truck was moving at high speed. The driver slowly maneuvered under the trailer. One small mistake, and this could have cost him his health or even his life. Once under the truck, he continued driving under it for a while before finally exiting. Just imagine what could have happened if the truck driver had braked. So, this is definitely something that shouldn't be tried in real life. Dangerous stunts belong in video games. Now, let's return to our fantasies embodied by skillful architects, and this time in just 4 months. This small bridge was constructed for temporary connection between two settlements, as the main crossing will be built later. So, the decision to build this seemingly unreliable bridge was the only alternative for local residents to avoid the mountainous off-road route, which takes much more time and increases the car's mileage by 20 kilometers. The entire bridge is cable-stayed, and it wouldn't be so impressive if for not its size, 300 meters. This entire structure is located in Chongqing, China, and if we're talking about the real danger of such structures, aside from intrusive thoughts that it might collapse at any moment and the fastenings might snap, admit it, you definitely thought about that. Then recall the small iron fence along the bridge. Its purpose is to prevent your car from possibly falling. Now, I think you already feel better. If not, you now understand why this route in the video is so noteworthy. On September 23, 2018, in Himachal Pradesh, India, the video shows the danger posed by this road. The reasons for this include a combination of various factors: climate change, illegal deforestation, and regular rainfall, resulting in an increased water level in the river alongside the road. Eyewitness filmed 2 trucks being swept away by the flood, miraculously clinging to the remnants of a former bridge that connected the 2 banks. The same cannot be said for the moment when a parked bus is washed away, along with water, road debris, cars, rocks, and debris heading towards the homes of local residences, destroying houses in its path. And in the end, when all that remains in place of the former road is mud, whether you like it or not, you will miss the uneven paths. If your answer was no, you'll still be interested in the next place. A driver decided to take a shortcut across an old suspension bridge. He drove onto the platform. The bridge began to sag under the weight of the car and sink toward the water. When the car reached the middle of the bridge, it sagged so much that the car started dipping into the water. At that moment, the cables couldn't bear the weight and snapped. The car ended up in the water and began to sink. Let's hope the driver and passengers are okay. During a bike race, dozens of cyclists were riding on a wet track. One of the participants fell, causing several others to crash into him. Notice how several dozen of other athletes reacted to this incident. They fell on purpose to avoid causing more serious injuries or harming anyone else. At first glance, it might seem like they also slipped on the wet track, but the cyclists reacted instantly. However, some simply slowed down to avoid the dangerous section. In Montenegro, a crane was being transported to lift a new meteorological radar. However, the location where it was to be placed was on a steep slope with a dangerous dirt road. On one of the sharp turns, the crane slowed down to maneuver. But due to the enormous weight of the crane, a small landslide occurred and the vehicle, weighing tens of tons, plummeted down the slope. Several photographers and camera operators who were there to film the installation of the weather station could only grab their heads in disbelief. Fortunately, the crane operator was unharmed. He only received a few bruises. An excavator was called in to lift a pickup truck that had sunk into a body of water. At first, everything was going well, but then the excavator moved a few meters forward and began to sink into the water itself. It lost balance and the pickup truck fell back into the water. To make things worse, the excavator's bucket damaged the pickup. In India, where over 1 billion people live, trains are the main means of transportation. But it's far from the most comfortable and safest option, as the trains are usually overcrowded by many times their capacity. Notice this train that is covered with passengers. Those who couldn't fit inside are clinging to handrails, hanging from windows and doors, and riding on the roof. This horrifying sight has become completely normal for locals. Another train arriving at the station could be called empty. Notice how dozens of people are running after the still-moving train to get a better spot inside and avoid traveling on the roof. Would you risk taking a breezy ride on a train roof? Write your thoughts down there in the comments. Guilin Road is one of the most dangerous mountain roads in the world. Located in the eastern Chinese province of Henan, its path, which is in fact carved into the Rocky Mountain as a tunnel, is a staggering 1,200 meters long and has a height of 5 meters. The peculiarity of this high mountain road is the openings of various diameters and shapes made in the wall, serving as natural sources of light and at the same time posing the greatest danger. Along the entire stretch, there are dozens of small windows, some of which reach lengths of 20 to 30 meters. You might think that it helps during the trip, if not for the twisting route, which creates blind spots where it's impossible to know if someone is coming straight at you. Adapting to this, people started honking to alert others to their presence. But is it effective? Traveling this extremely difficult route from which large stones fall into the abyss from the side became a matter of honor for many car enthusiasts and, at the same time, a risk of death. No wonder it's called the road that does not forgive mistakes. The Killer Chamba Road is located in the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. It is one of the most complex and dangerous routes in the world. However, despite this, dozens of passenger buses travel this road every day. One particularly dangerous and narrow section, all passengers get off the bus at a safe distance. The driver must maneuver to avoid going off the edge. On one such stretch, there is a waterfall that washes out the road, so the bus driver has to navigate and pass very close to the edge. Many passengers witness this show. One can only imagine how difficult it is for the driver, as he has to risk his own life every time. The road itself has a length of 250 kilometers. Of course, there is no question of any asphalt, but it's these dangers, waterfalls from rocky mountains, and extraordinary views that have made the road famous worldwide. Several vehicles ended up off the road, falling off a cliff. It's unclear why this happened. Perhaps there was a landslide causing the parked trucks to start falling. One of the trucks landed on its wheels with its trailer lifted. Moments later, another truck fell, but less carefully. It flipped onto its side, hitting another truck. Workers are just walking around and filming this on their phones because there's nothing they can do. It's interesting to wonder how they'll get them back up. This truck driver managed to squeeze through and pass a line of oncoming trucks. He must be a true professional, as he skillfully avoided an accident. At first glance, this road seems to lead nowhere, but in fact, it runs under Lake Dushu in Suzhou, China. Cars first cross a long bridge and then enter an underwater tunnel. The underwater part of the 6-lane road stretches for 3.3 kilometers. A fuel tanker caught fire on a Brazilian road. The incident occurred in July on the highway between Paragominas and Uliápolis in Para. Traffic was immediately halted and firefighters were called. The tanker resembled a slowly burning torch. A fire truck was parked just a few meters from the burning tanker. Meanwhile, dozens of drivers and passengers on both sides of the road watched the fire, seemingly at a safe distance, calmly filming the blaze. The firefighters were walking around their truck, setting up equipment and preparing to extinguish the fire. Some of them got very close to the tanker, while others stayed on the opposite side of the fire truck, using it as a protective barrier. The fire wasn't spreading, but neither was it dying down, so everything seemed safe. A few firefighters walked near the epicenter. At that very moment, a huge explosion occurred. A fireball with a radius of dozens of meters erupted. Onlookers were frightened and began to run away. It's hard to believe, but fortunately, no one was killed, even though the firefighters were right at the center of the explosion. 6 people were taken to the nearest hospital, where they received medical attention. This truck was equipped with a high-speed jet engine. Flames burst from the engines, and the truck was accelerated to an impressive 531 kilometers per hour in just a few seconds. It had been speeding for a few moments before the engines were shut down and a parachute was deployed to slow the vehicle down. How about even more unconventional roads, the existence of which will make you wonder if what you're seeing is real? Intrigued? In that case, imagine this. You're driving on an old, rusty bridge over a turbulent river, but you don't hear it over the sounds of creaking old wooden planks with metal patches. The impression is that they would collapse even under the weight of a person, let alone a car. But it's too late to think about it. The journey has begun. And now, you're in the middle of the route. No more doubts. The road diverges and shakes, and your fall from 15 meters is just a matter of time. And no railing that could save you from falling. Although, why should there be one? I almost forgot. This entire amazing construction from a horror movie is just a regular railway bridge with ties that is quite popular among extreme enthusiasts. So take a breath, because it might haunt your dreams. For most of the video, we were showing you the roads themselves, where various lucky individuals successfully navigated the challenges. But what if I tell you that the pedestrians in this video are not the only ones playing risky games with fate and danger? There are countless news stories and warnings about such places on the internet, although, as we see, all of them were successfully ignored by this tourist bus. Without turning off the music, the vehicle tries its best to navigate through the narrow, winding road, ignoring the fact that the ground under the wheels literally collapses down. As if gaining courage, it sometimes reverses, then accelerates to pass sections with ravines. And there you go, this green beauty barely avoiding a flip, tilted at an angle, and with one wheel closer to death, remains intact. Only luck and the skill of the driver can be thanked in this situation. So don't forget that after visiting any of these places, you could easily find yourself in a similar situation without a happy ending, or experience an adrenaline rush. Who knows? Such places are no more predictable than roulette. This is how houses are transported. This operation was carried out in Madison. A special vehicle with a large platform was needed to lift the entire house, including its foundation, without damaging it. Trees nearby even had to be cut down to make the turn. It was a true special operation to transport the house to a new location. The total weight of the house was 400 tons. The vehicle moved very slowly, at only a few dozen meters per hour. A truck was transporting 3 new ambulances. However, they weren't properly secured, and one of the vehicles slid off the platform and onto the road while the truck was in motion. The ambulance continued moving on its own for several dozen meters. Fortunately, it didn't cause any accident, and it was eventually put back onto the platform. A cement truck driver misjudged the height of the bridge and tried to drive under it. His vehicle got stuck, and it had to be pulled out with special equipment. The truck was moving quickly, so it managed to push quite deeply under the bridge. The cement mixing drum was crushed, and the road under the bridge was closed for several hours as a result. This is a road you definitely shouldn't speed on. It looks like a roller coaster, where every meter could be a real test for your car's suspension. Due to the wavy surface, cars at high speed literally bounce as if it's on a trampoline. You'll feel as if you're being tossed from side to side like on a merry-go-round. A truck driver is driving with his front wheels lifted due to the heavy load. He needed to transport a container, so he secured it and used the counterweight to maintain balance. Either he has a strong understanding of physics, or he just learned to defy them.
There are times when nothing depends on the drivers. So there was a terrible catastrophe that got on camera. March 26, 2023 in the USA. The video shows the vehicle approaching another vehicle when the Jeep's wheel suddenly comes off and collides with a nearby vehicle. The impact throws the car into the air, rolls over, lands heavily on the road, and rolls over again. As a result, debris is scattered along the road. The car with the wheel blown out left the scene. Interestingly, Tesla, on autopilot, narrowly escaped the scattered debris while witnessing the entire event. And here's the video, after which a lot of obscene language was uttered in the direction of the truck driver. It all happened on a floating bridge. The cars were trying to cross the unstable bridge to the other side, when suddenly a truck began to drive along the neighboring side. Because of such a hulk, the bridge began to flood, and the cars learned to swim. Just look at Ford changing lanes. I think everyone was on their nerves, but it ended without any victims. Looks like a warning from above to stop buses and cars from moving on. It all happened in Pakistan in the mountains of Gilgit-Baltistan, when a group of tourists were driving along a rocky road and a rock fall began in front of them. The group stopped in time and waited in safety. But I think the desire to go further has disappeared. Another terrible rockfall that happened in India. Alas, this time there were victims among the people. In the north of India, in the Sangla region, a stream of stones collapsed, which rolled into a residential area. This led to the death of at least 9 people, 3 more were injured. Also, as a result of the rock collapse, the bridge was damaged, which demolished one of the falling stones, as well as the nearest cars that were in the parking lot. In Tampa Bay, Florida, a woman filmed the moment when lightning struck her husband's truck on Friday, July the 1st. Fortunately, no one was hurt in the car. However, the truck was severely damaged by the impact. Michael May Wallen, who captured the moment, said the truck was completely burned. If you want to switch from oil to gas, it is better not to watch this video, or watch it and change your mind. On the most ordinary and calm day on the track, the video recorder of one of the cars filmed how a HBO exploded near a car passing by. It was lucky that the car was not completely torn apart and the fire didn't start, but the rear window and things that were in the trunk fell out. The driver and passenger remained safe and sound. I think everyone, at least once in their life, thought about how cool it is to ride a motorcycle on an empty road to get euphoria and adrenaline. Here in this video, we see one of these people who was riding on a deserted track. When he accelerated to get that dose of adrenaline, he saw a motorcyclist approaching him. Our rider slowed down and they passed safely. The trouble came from where they did not expect, and a car at high speed crashed into our motorcyclist from behind. The camera managed to capture that the driver of the car, as if purposely, drove into a two-wheeled horse. The motorcyclist himself flew out but did not receive any serious injuries. In 2015, on a typical day on the highway, a driver was able to film a helicopter flying over him. It happened near the city of Dnipro in Ukraine, and the helicopter not only flew by, but flew for quite a long time at a low altitude along the route of the highway. And he got up only after a bridge appeared in front of him. In the video, a car was driving from Belgrade to Novi Sad on a highway in Serbia when the car shook during a sudden and severe storm. Even though the day began as usual with no sign of rain or storm, the weather changed dramatically in a matter of minutes. At first, everything was pretty calm until the BMW 7 Series, weighing more than 2 tons, began to shake like a flimsy piece of paper. The wind was so strong that the car almost lost control and began to slide along the road. The driver had no choice but to stop the car and wait for the violent storm to subside. Fortunately, the storm ended after 20 minutes and everyone got safe and sound. Animals showed who's in charge of the territory. Spoiler alert, it's definitely not a human. This track is located in the Kruger National Park, South Africa. As the operator says, this is the biggest traffic jam on this road, which was formed due to rhinos. But the most interesting thing is that this video shows how impatient and uneducated people can be. This park belongs to animals, not people, but some unique people trying to avoid or scare the rhinos. And now in this video, we see how a peaceful rhinoceros defends its territory and itself. The driver drove too close to the animal, after which the horned animal riddled the car. The rhinoceros was beating and crushing the car for 2 minutes. The driver was very lucky that he was left without serious injuries. And he also got a good lesson. And the so-called animal queens blocked the road. The video was filmed at the intersection of the H13 and S126 highways near Satara and the Sveni Reservoir in the Kruger National Park on November 25, 2016. The pride consisted of 17 cats, part of which was on the road, and the other part was in the bushes on the side of the road. They entertained those passing by for an hour, relaxing on the track. Thank God none of the people came out to pet them. It ended with the fact that the animals just went about their business. This video shows how the city of Pompeii disappeared from world maps. It happened on Hukupu Street next to Leilani Avenue in Leilani Estates, on the island of Hawaii on May 5, 2018. On this day, there was a volcanic eruption, which resulted in about a third of the residential buildings in Leilani Estates being destroyed by lava. But there were no victims among the people. By the way, when lava flows into the ocean, it can create a new land by adding layers of solidified lava to the seabed. Write in the comments if you would like to see a video in which we tell you about the most unusual cases in history. A terrible accident occurred in the state of Alabama. The video was filmed on the DVR of a woman who was just going about her business. Suddenly, at high speed, a car flew off the overpass. She literally flew up and then turned over right in the air. The car landed on the front end, which instantly collapsed from the impact, after which the car twisted several more times. In the end, the car landed on its roof. After such a terrible accident, the driver who was driving survived, albeit with dangerous injuries. Life's biggest fear is the Final Destination scene where a log falls off a truck and kills the driver behind. And damn, it happened in reality with the married couple. They were driving behind a pickup truck carrying lumber. At one point, 2 boards fell off the truck, which began to spin in the air, after which one of them flew into the windshield of a young couple. It happened on a freeway in Ohio. A 6-foot-long piece of wood that wasn't properly secured was thrown through the windshield. The building material was smashed into the seat a few inches from the driver's and passengers' heads. This video makes you believe in a miracle. In Nonthaburi, central Thailand, an 18-wheeler truck carrying a 40-foot shipping container was driving around a curve when a motorcyclist tried to pass it in the far lane, accelerating. Unfortunately, the truck lost control due to a burst rear wheel and fell right in the driver's path. Fortunately, the motorcyclist was not taken aback and braked in time. It's not known what would happen to him if it were not for his reaction. Footage taken in China, which shows how people are hiding in the tunnels from rockfall. Huge boulders rolled down the mountain, crumbling everything in their way. Notice where they rolled, there was not a single tree left. Rescuers arrived at the scene and fixed the situation. In the city of Yibin, located in Sichuan province, a video recorder captured the terrifying moment when stones unexpectedly fell from a hill, hitting passing cars on an overpass below. According to preliminary data, 3 cars were damaged, 3 received minor injuries. The incident caused a traffic jam on the road, and additional investigation is being carried out into this fact. Local media granted permission to distribute the video. In the city of Notodden in Norway, for unknown reasons, a car started to burn on the road. A group of firefighters arrived at the scene and began putting out the fire. Due to the strong flow of water, the car began to roll down. One of the firefighters tried to climb inside and stop it, but he didn't succeed. As a result, the car rolled down and crashed into a barrier. As a result, the fire was extinguished and no one was hurt. Well, except for the fence, of course. But the firefighter must be given credit for his brave attempt to stop the burning car. A small passenger plane made an emergency landing Saturday afternoon on Interstate 20 in Talladega County, according to the Alabama State Police. The plane took off from the Talladega Municipal Airport and landed on the I-20 West at mile marker 173 at 4:21 p.m. An engine failure was reported to have caused the crash landing, but fortunately, no one was hurt. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating the incident. A similar situation occurred on August 11, 2018 in the state of California, St. Leandro. A small plane, which for unknown reasons began to lose fuel, was forced to make an emergency landing right on a busy highway. At first, he flew as low as possible over the road so that as many drivers as possible could see him and clear the road for landing. In the end, he sat down rather softly. The incident passed without damage to cars and aircraft, and people were left without injury. In a small town of Columbus Grove, Ohio, a long-range truck stuck on the railroad tracks. The driver could not derail due to the size of the car. The situation was saved by the fact that there was only a trailer with goods on the rails. Just like that, a train pulled into it. Of course, the goods can no longer be saved, but the driver is safe and sound. After I see such videos on the news, I always think that Toretto drove there in search of a new family member. For some reason, the truck driver decided not to lower the body. And when at high speed he tried to drive through the bridge, the hanging body collided with the concrete bridge. The sound, I think, was like a shot. The driver remained intact, which cannot be said about the car. And here is an example of the highest imprudence that occurred in Thailand. The wild elephant nicknamed Fat Man, which was nicknamed so in the province of Chachoengsao, was very lazy and didn't eat the leaves of the jungle. He worked out his cunning plan and stopped passing trucks to steal the sugarcane. First, he went out onto the road and blocked the passage of trucks that were carrying valuable cargo. After the driver slowed down, the elephant went to the trailer and took out the coveted yummy with its trunk. This happened to several trucks, after which the elephant went deep into the forest. By the way, he was nicknamed Fat Man because he eats a lot. We've come to the end. Today we've seen terrible situations that teach us to be more careful on the road. When you get behind the wheel, you must understand that you are responsible not only for your life and the lives of your passengers, but also for the people around you. Write in the comments what moment surprised you the most, and don't forget to click on the bell so you don't miss the next video.